So I can go ahead and start. So just give me a brief, name, title, background, education, work
Sure.
experience.
My name is Dennis Hartman. I'm a professor of atmospheric sciences at the University of Washington. Been doing this for a while. My original training was in mechanical engineering. Went to graduate school. I studied geophysical fluid dynamics at Princeton University, where they specialize in modeling the atmosphere and the ocean, which is one of the tools we use for projecting the future climate.
Okay, excellent, awesome. So what would you say, just actually prior to that, how long have you been here in Seattle specifically?
I came to Seattle in 1977,
Okay.
so a while.
All right, so you've kind of
38,
seen,
39 years.
yeah, so you've seen probably some shifting dynamic in like the actual climate here locally.
Maybe.
Possibly, potentially. That actually leads me to my first question. What are some of the recent changes in the Pacific Northwest climate and environment that would provide evidence of global climate change?
Well, mostly probably it's been the shrinking of the glaciers and the mountains that you notice, and also the sea level rise I think is quite noticeable here in the Seattle area, the Pacific Northwest. We've also had some indications of ocean acidification, the effect of increasing the CO2 in the atmosphere on life in the ocean. So some of the shellfish farmers in the Puget Sound region have moved their some parts of their operations to Hawaii, actually, where the acidity of the ocean is less. It's kind of a locally amplified problem here in Puget Sound, that the acidity of the sound gets larger than is comfortable for the shellfish at a particular stage in their development.
Okay. That actually perfectly ties into the next question, which is regarding the impact that it's had on the local wildlife and the agriculture, and what would you say to that?
I think so far it's been fairly small. We have had a few cases of extremely dry, hot summers. We've had wildfires, so that's had a big impact on the forest, particularly east of the mountains. But I think so far, pretty small impact. We're kind of at the beginning of the warming that we expect from human-induced climate change.
Right. How vital would you say it is that our elected officials and persons of power and influence be educated and knowledgeable about climate change?
It's very important that leaders be educated, but I think it's also very important for the citizens to be educated, because hopefully our leaders listen to the citizens' concerns. So far, in the majority of the country, the message coming from the electorate to the leaders hasn't been strong enough to facilitate much action at all on a national level.
Yeah, there's definitely been some concerns raised, especially with recent elections. What would your response be to someone who is a climate change denier or thinks that it's a hoax?
So, some people who believe that very strongly believe it for reasons that are ideological or philosophical, and if you have a conversation with them trying to present the facts, they're not really susceptible to that kind of argument. And I'm a scientist, so all I can do is really present facts. If people choose not to accept those facts, there's relatively little I can do about it. I have, done activities where you go into the community and try to explain the scientific facts to people. Recently, I went to the Rotary Club in one of our outlying cities around Seattle and talked to them. And you could tell that, like the general population, there were some of those who understood the science, believed it, and actually wanted to do something, and then there's still another group who feel it's still the sun or it's natural variability or something like that. They just don't want to accept the fact that humans are changing the global climate. It's hard to take in and hard to accept for a lot of people.
Right. What would you say would be an effective way to raise awareness and a positive light regarding climate change?
What I try to do is to convey a vision of the future in which we're not reliant on fossil fuels, and yet we have a lifestyle based on high energy consumption that nonetheless does not influence the climate. So it is possible to have a future where we're able to move around, we're able to have our electronic devices, and we're not dependent on coal or oil. There are other ways to get the energy we need without digging up all the coal that exists on Earth.
Excellent. And what is your opinion on the direction of renewable energy in the country?
Renewable energy is trending upward. The ultimate source is probably solar, and the photoelectrics that generate the energy are becoming rapidly cheaper. And if you accounted for the environmental costs of coal, maybe just only the health effects on the respiratory system of coal and oil, you could argue that solar is already cheaper than fossil fuels. But I think as time goes on, it will become more economically advantageous, and people will want to have a cleaner lifestyle, will convert from coal electricity generation to something renewable, will get away from internal combustion engines and have more electrical vehicles fueled by renewable energies, and that's the future we need.
Perfect.